as well. I say didn't have my mother at such times when growing. Being here for my girls, I want to make sure I do right by them. So every time I hear people say the mothers of the other generation did remarkable, and then our generation is reckless and everything, and we're allowing our kids to do what they want. I always want to remind them that this is the one generation that is listening to the kids. This is the one generation that is doing their best. I can't even imagine someone convincing my mom or my grandmother to attend a parenting class. How dare you? I mean, I was pregnant for the child for 9 months. I can figure this out. So it's so beautiful to see parents coming out, on different platforms, different forums, just trying to equip ourselves. So I celebrate you. So before we start, I'd like you to type in the comment, I celebrate myself. So type that in the comment, I celebrate myself. All right, I celebrate myself. My grandmother to attend a parenting class. How dare you? I mean, I was pregnant for the child for 9 months. All right, so I was checking that our YouTube is also open and people can watch from there. So let's talk, let's talk, let's talk. All right, I celebrate myself. I see you, Temi. I see you, Dinah. I celebrate myself. Fantastic. Please type, I celebrate myself. I mean, you've had a long day already. You can't even imagine what today has been like. Maureen, I celebrate myself. Auntie Blessing, 40K. So good to see you after a long time. I celebrate myself. Larry says, I celebrate myself. Modupe says, I celebrate myself. Tolulola says, I celebrate myself. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. Clara says, I celebrate myself. Funketi says, I celebrate myself. Oh, this is amazing. Alice says, I celebrate myself. She says, I celebrate myself. So with that said, I'm going to start sharing my screen right away so that we can begin this conversation. So my name is Irene Banwell. I'm a mom of 2 daughters. I have 2 daughters. My first daughter is 12 and my second is going to be 10 later in the year. So I have a 12 and a 9-year-old, but their age difference is basically about 2 years. So I have 2 daughters, and you see, from when my daughters were born, I knew that I needed to do a lot of things differently. I knew that there is a support that they needed, and I just set out on that adventure about what it would take to raise a wholesome girl. And so people that have been following me for a while over the years, people like Auntie Blessing 40K would know that they would know me with the slogan 10/10 girl. So I'd like to ask Joy, if you're on the call, please send the live link, the link to the YouTube to all our WhatsApp groups and Facebook group that we're live so that people can join and watch, all right? So everybody knows me about talking about the 10/10 girl. And the whole thing came out of saying that mothers raised us. Today we are mothers, but when we were growing up, the most important thing we heard from our parents was that we're getting married. So everything, learn how to cook so that they can marry you. Oh, some people say, if you don't make up, it will be hard for somebody to marry you. It was just a conversation that was on and on. Everything was always about marriage. And so when I had my daughters, I came up with this framework that says that if you focus only on your daughter getting married, you're raising a 1/10 girl. But if you raise her all round, wholesome, her mental health, her self-esteem, her talent, her education, her interest, different things, you'd have a richer experience out there. So it's from there I call the 10/10 girl. But the thing about the 10/10 girl is that she's a prepared girl. That means we prepare her for transitions. We prepare her for the next phase because there are too many mistakes that are made during transitions. Too many mistakes. What does a transition mean? Your baby is a toddler and they're about to go into preschool. If you notice during their graduation, they'll talk to them about they need to tie their shoelaces, they need to start eating by themselves because the transition, a new season is coming. You don't want them to be caught unawares because when they're caught unawares, their decision making is not solid. They will not maximize the opportunity. They will not maximize the season. So today we're talking about another transition phase our princesses are getting into. And so there are lots of things they need to know about this transition phase because if they're not adequately prepared, they will not make the right decisions and then they will not maximize the season. Yes, that's the thing. They will not maximize the season. Today, I was coming back from school with my daughter, my first daughter, and to my shock, I found myself saying, baby girl, do you know that this time next year, you're going to be a teenager? For God's sake, it's not something I would normally do. I was so excited, I now said it. That's why she say, hey, in 1 year time, I'm a teenager. I just corrected myself. I said, baby girl, but we have to rock 12 first. We have to enjoy 12 to the maximum. So when you prepare her for transition, she maximizes it. I don't want to have a 12-year-old looking forward to 13 that she misses out on the amazing things happening at age 12. So tonight, I'm going to be talking to you about how to talk with your girls about periods. I want a lot of questions. I want you to call me back if you think I'm speaking too fast. Just say you're going too fast and I'll be there to help you. I'll come back and I'll explain myself. So I'm saying here that our goal as girl parents should always be to raise wholesome girls, 10 over 10 girls, not just for marriage, not one-sided, not just schoolwork, where you care only about her schoolwork, but you don't care about her mental health. You don't care about her work with God. If she's doing well in school, even if she's lying, you don't care. You want to raise wholesome girls. But the whole idea about wholesome girls is that you prepare them for transitions. The more prepared they are, the more wholesome their decisions are, the more able they are to maximize opportunities. So my name is Irene Bango. I'm raising two girls right now, two girls directly, and I have an army of other girls that I'm raising. Some of them live in your home. All right. I'm the author of the book, How to Talk with Your Girls About Sex, a sex education book, Bible-based sex education book for parents raising girls. I'm also the creator of the Body Smart Girl Bundle, an age-by-age sex education kit for girls. And what else? I host the Body Smart Girl Bootcamp every holiday for girls like yours, for girls age 3 to 17. We've done about 6 editions of that. The next one comes up in August. And tonight, I'm happy to meet with you again. I host a YouTube live session most Thursdays where I share about different things. So if you get on YouTube right now and search for Raising Girls with Irene Bangle, you're going to see loads of resources, how to answer sex questions, how to answer weird questions your kids ask, how to prevent sexual abuse from occurring in your home. My whole goal is to equip parents on how to provide sex education to their girls, but then I also step in to support and give the girls sex education directly as well. So tonight is one of those sessions I hold for parents. Welcome, Antonia, where we're talking about an aspect of sex education, which is about periods. So we have a 2-day session, and this class is in commemoration of the Menstrual Hygiene Day on Sunday, May 28th. So to make this really work, we're having a session for moms today and having a session for dads tomorrow. The truth is, girls need male and female support. So when moms or aunties and grandparents step in to do the mom's part, there's also a need for a male to come into the picture. So tomorrow we'll be talking to the men about the male part. I'm getting some chat. I just want to be sure that my attention is not being drawn to something. Please just give me a sec. I'll check it another way. Anyway, I need to move on quickly. So that's who I am. I'm also a proprietor. I run the 100 Naira a day school in FCT. So I run a secondary school for children from low-income families. School fees is just 100 Naira. And when they pay 100 Naira, they get books, uniform, lunch. The girls get sanitary pads every month. And then they get a STEM-based education. It's an honor to be here tonight. So what's the goal of this session and everything we're doing today and tomorrow? Our goal is to ensure that all girls get the knowledge that they need about the changes happening in their body, the sanitary products that are available to them, and the facilities that can help them understand and manage their menstruation. So first, they get knowledge about body changes, they get knowledge about sanitary products, they get knowledge about use of certain facilities, and generally we're giving them all of those three so that they can understand and manage their menstruation, so that they can what? Understand and manage your menstruation. So from here, you can literally say that menstrual education is really about 3 things: talking about body changes and talking about sanitary products, as well as facilities. They're one and the same thing. Talking about body changes, sanitary products, and facilities. So if you're a mom listening to me and you've been thinking about how do I talk about periods, that's the first lesson. Talking about period has to do with talking about body changes and sanitation. Body changes and sanitation. So I'd like to see comments. Leave me a comment if you heard me. Just type body changes and sanitation. Body changes and sanitation. Let me see if my comments are coming in. Body changes and sanitation. So that's in the nutshell. If you want to remember what today was about, it's about how do I teach my children about body changes and then sanitation when they start to see their periods. How do I educate them? How do I prepare them for the body changes that is to come or that has already come, and then sanitation when they start to see their periods. Thank you so much. I have a class that is following. That's fantastic. I see a number of comments. So what kinds of knowledge do the kids need? Remember when I talked about body changes, sanitation, body changes, sanitation. So I further broke it down. So when we're talking about body changes, what do we need? So number one, we're talking about puberty and body changes. Number two, we're talking about menstruation 101. Menstruation 101 has to do with what is a period, where does it come from, how often will it come, what do you use when you're your period? Then we have the hygiene part that says, how do you keep clean when you're in your periods? But contrary to what people think, one of the biggest fears about talking to children about menstruation is usually not the menstruation itself, but the fear that, I'm going to talk about sex, the fear that pregnancy conversation is going to come. So normally we ask is like, if you just to talk to them about, oh, my internet connection is unstable. I hope you can hear me. Please, if you can still hear me, let me know. If you're not hearing me clearly, let me also know. If you can hear me, let me know. If you can't hear me, let me know. I just got a notification. Your internet connection is a bit unstable. I'd like to know if you can hear me clearly. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Idara. So many parents are not, they don't have a problem talking about bleeding and all of that. But the fear is that there are other things that come with this. And so tonight I want to share with you how do you talk about puberty and when the fears start to come. Periods mean she may like a boy will ask her out, will she know what to do if she gives into sex, pregnancies around the way. So we have that fear. So tonight I want to walk you through how to deal with that fear. And so first and foremost, I just want you to know something, that when you have a fear for something, sometimes you have an exaggerated anticipation of what could go wrong. You're anxious because you're afraid, all right? But if you sit down and ask yourself, what are my fears? I mean, when my first daughter was around the age of 8, it hit me that, oh, I have a girl. And girls are the ones that live with the highest consequences of sexual misbehaviors. Boys have consequences, but girls have a more expressive, you can literally see the consequences of their misbehavior. On top of the fact that they enjoy the most shaming. So if a man and a woman do something wrong, the girls will be shamed 10,000 times beyond the man. In fact, sometimes what girls are shamed for, men are praised for it. So I went to God and I said, look, I'm really anxious about this. And I remember very well, the Holy Spirit said, articulate your fears. I've not even started doing raising girls much like that. You know, I was talking, but I've not started designing resources. And he said, articulate your fears. And I'm asking you to do that. Write out what you fear. Are you afraid you could be pregnant? Are you afraid that this, when you finish all those thoughts, pour them into paper so you can be looking at them. And then on each point of your fear, decide how you're going to address it. And how do you address it? What are you going to do to prevent it from occurring? Because it's better and more strategic for you to prepare to prevent your fears than for you to just live in the fear, or for you to say, I'm praying about it and you're praying against it. You're praying against it, but you're not taking actions to prevent it. It's not very strategic. So articulate your fears about the thoughts you have when your children or your daughter gets into the menstrual season. What are the fears you have? And then let's articulate it and solve it. So if you already have done that, at some point, I'd like you to point it out in the questions, drop it in the comments, some of the fears that you have, and I'm going to walk you through what to do. But in the meantime, let's go to see what knowledge we need to give our children, our daughters, regarding puberty and body changes, menstruation 101, hygiene, managing crushes, sex and pregnancy. Are you ready for us to go? Are you ready? Are you ready? Yes, articulate your fear and address it. Articulate your fear. I have a fear that somebody may touch her, So you write it down, fear of molestation. I have a fear that she may be raped, fear of molestation. I have a fear that she won't be able to tell guys off. I have a fear that she's too friendly. She can't tell people no. She's always covering people up. She doesn't speak up enough. Articulate your fear. Write it down. And we're going to walk you through it tonight. So let me start with puberty. So if you're out here and your daughter hits around the age of 9, one of the first things you start to notice before most things is that they start to smell when they smell different, man. Your baby that used to run around sweat all day, you won't be feeling any smell. All of a sudden, when they pass you, something hits you. And so when that happens, you know that puberty has kicked in. So if you have an 8-year-old that suddenly starts to ooze in a particular way. I mean, I have 2 daughters now. One is in puberty, one is not. And it's so ridiculous to see that they will play the same play. My 8-year-old, my 9-year-old will play to her full. And she'll come and pass you. Her sweat doesn't stink. Her sister that is 12 dare not try it. She has not even finished playing. You're already saying, all right, go and have a bath. So once you start to smell something in their body, it's time to have the conversation about puberty. And because of how your reaction is likely to be, what's that smell? Give them a backup, let them know that nothing is wrong, that puberty has begun. So first thing I want you to know today is that when your children get into puberty, they have 2 kinds of changes. There's emotional changes and the physical changes. So I'm going to start with the emotional part. One of the things that starts to happen when our daughters get into puberty is that they become overly self-conscious. They start to become, they worry about their appearance a lot. They worry about what people think. They worry about if they're good enough. They start to have those kind of thoughts. But also around that same time, they start to see and like the opposite sex. They start to have strong feelings towards the opposite sex. They start to be attracted to the opposite sex. And when that happens, it's normal. When they come to my boot camp, some of them tell me that their mothers will be upset with them. Did I send you to school to go and have a crush? And sometimes it's a child that is coming to have a conversation with a parent. And that's what the parent is saying. And so when the parent doesn't respond well, you've given the child the opportunity to talk to someone else who may not share your values. So the emotional changes that come with self-consciousness, liking of the opposite sex are totally normal. When they start to like people of the opposite sex, it's called a crush. But let me come back to physical changes because I'm going to talk about crushes later. So what happens is that the moment the child starts to sweat, call them in and say, baby girl, you're entering a new level. And so you can start walking them. So when I talk to my daughters, I remind them of maybe a baby around us, maybe an auntie had a baby. I said, do you remember when so person was born? They say yes. So remember when the baby was born? The baby couldn't sit, the baby had to lie down. They say yes. Then after a while, the neck could be straight. I said, do you remember how when their mom would go to the house, they'll tell us to use our elbow to carry the baby to support the head because the head wasn't firm. After a while, the head was firm. After a while, the baby could sit. After a while, the baby could crawl. Do you remember that? They say yes. I say, fantastic. Do you remember that after a while, the baby walked? They say yes. I say, so do you remember how they used to walk like this? And then they started, I help them see how the human body evolves. I say, so once you get to 9 years old, your body starts to prepare for adult existence, adult living. And full adult living starts to happen around the time you're age 22. But your body needs a long time to change. So your body needs about 13 years to make that changes. So sometime around when you're 9 years old, your brain sends a message to your body that it's time for them to start the work of preparing you to be an adult. And so one of the first changes that happen is you start to sweat differently. And so when you sweat differently, the smell comes from the hormonal changes going on in your body because your body is preparing hormones to help it start going through, to help you go through puberty. Now, when those hormones come out on your skin, they're a little bit offensive. And so when that starts to happen, before you know it, hair starts to grow in your pubic area. So you ask your kids, which one has started happening for you? Because I mean, it's your child, so you have a sense, so you can point out some of what is already happening. And so in girls, they start to grow pubic hair. And before you know it, they have breast bulbs. breast buds are painful, and sometimes looks like, not sometimes, or it looks like one breast will be bigger than the other. And those changes have started to happen. But while those changes are happening on the surface, another kind of change is happening inside. So I would ask them, so tell me, what are some things that you know that the adult female body can do that the child's female body cannot do? Think about it. And so they may think, some of them may think things that are off, but the conversation is going to where they can say, well, the adult female body can carry a baby, the adult female body can breastfeed a baby. So because your body is transiting is changing to an adult body that you'll be ready to be in at 22. Remind me why I keep using 22 at the end, please. Somebody should remind me, why do I keep using 22? All right, so I tell them that from 9 to 22, your body is going through a lot of changes so that it can do everything the adult body can do. So physically, you're growing breast because the adult female body can breastfeed. All right, but there are also changes going on inside of you, and those changes are preparing you for the female adult body to carry a baby. So your body has started preparing. Your body has started preparing. So I'll usually give them this example too. I would say, think about a house. So let's say an uncle wants to build a house, but he wants to take his time and build it in 13 years. I said, so a lot of work is going on. It's carving out the window, the space for the window as they're just building the block. They're making room for the doors, they're making room for the toilet. They may not bring it in yet. They will not put the electrical wiring completely yet, but they'll make a pathway. They'll bring in things to measure. So your body is doing those kinds of things, preparing you for how you be a full-grown adult at 22. So one of the changes that happens is happening internally. It's happening inside of you. And so inside of you, there's a development of what is called your reproductive organs. I try to not say sexual reproductive organs. We're going to talk about sex, but I don't want it to distract the conversation. So I'll say, so your reproductive organs are developing. Reproductive organs has to do with everything that helps for you to carry a baby. As an adult, the preparation is going on. Remember, in that house, windows are being cut, room for doors are being made, space for the sink, space for pipe. If you people have done a building project recently that your child was at the site, or your child can visit the site, carry the child to the site and have this conversation. It helps for the conversation to be, to enter because they can see visuals. So inside of their body, changes are beginning to happen. So it's not just the breast outside or the sweat or the pubic hair, but internally, some development is going on as well. So the next part of the conversation is to say, so what makes the internal part of a woman's body? So we're going to talk about the cervix. I don't think it's the cervix I should be talking. I'm going to talk about the vagina. Now, many children think, even parents, think that the frontal part of their body is the vagina. It's not. It's called the vulva, all right? So the urine is coming out from this front, but the vagina is where babies come out from. Vagina is where period comes out from, all right? It's not the same place that we be. In fact, doctors say if you find yourself going from your vagina, there's a problem. So we start to tell our children that one of the first places that starts to develop differently is their vagina, because that's kind of where the baby comes out from. So from their vagina, if they were to use a machine to look inside of their body from the vagina, they'll find the cervix. The cervix comes out to the vagina. So that's why you tell you, and then you can bring in the story of how you gave birth to them, where you say, look at, when I was to give birth, the cervix dilates. It's not the vagina that dilates, the cervix dilates. The cervix opens for the baby to come out of the womb and then come out through the vagina. So we now tell them that vagina is developing, cervix is developing, and then inside the body there's like a tube, fallopian tubes, and there are eggs and everything. And then there's also like the womb. So you tell them that when they get into puberty, their body starts to produce eggs. But it's not the same kind of eggs. It's not the same kind of eggs like the one that it has a shell. Rather, it's like yolk. It's like the yolk, all right? And so that the egg starts, the body is practicing getting ready to have a baby, right? So normally, babies are formed from a combination of a sperm and an egg. So the body produces the egg. Remember, the body is doing a rehearsal here. So everything between 9 and 13 is a rehearsal. 9 and 22 is a rehearsal. So the body produces the egg, and the egg is just sitting down there and waiting to get a sperm. But that is not ideal for the sperm to come. But the body needs to do that over and over and over and over again, to, really prepare the body for everything that the female adult body can do. So when that egg is formed, it's like a yolk. There will be a YouTube replay, so you can always go back to watch it so that you can consistently, watch this video again and explain. So remember, I said the development is happening physically, but it's also happening internally. Internally, the cervix is developing, the vagina is developing. Inside from the cervix, when you travel in, there's now the fallopian tubes and the eggs. There's an egg inside, but the egg doesn't have a shell. So the egg is supposed to be there to wait for a sperm to come so that it can convert to a baby. But remember, the body is doing rehearsals. The body is not yet ready to have babies, all right? The body is not adequately ready to have babies. So when this egg is there, it waits for a number of days. Many times it's assumed to be 28 days. And so if after 28 days it didn't get a sperm, all right? To support the baby, the stomach has a lining that is formed around that time, waiting for a baby to come. So when the body waits and the baby didn't come for a while, the stomach lining, breaks down, because the stomach lining is supposed to create an enabling environment for the baby to stay in. But that stomach lining sheds off every 28 days. So after 28 days, if there was no sperm in the egg, that stomach lining sheds off. It's like it breaks down and comes out in the form of blood. And that's what is called menstruation. So every 28 days, the body builds it again, waiting, will a baby come, will a baby come, will a baby come, and then it will come out. But the whole idea is that the body is rehearsing. It is not yet adequately ready to carry a baby. So your babies need to hear that from you. Periods show that their body is changing, but their body is changing and reproductive organs are being, developed. They can get pregnant, but their body is not yet ready to carry a baby. It's like this. Mommy is cooking. All the ingredients are there. In fact, she has put all the ingredients in the pot, but they are not properly cooked. They are not yet ready. Somebody can say, I'm so hungry, dish it and eat. But if they eat it, they can stew, they can be sick. Give it another minute, that food will be safe for consumption. So the body is growing those organs, the body is doing all of those things, but it's not yet ready. All right? So the stomach lining is what sheds off as blood. You get the idea? The stomach lining is what sheds off as blood, and it will do that every 28 days. It will do that consistently every 28 days. So for pregnant women, periods don't come because the stomach lining is even excited to provide an enabling environment for the baby. So that is it on puberty. So we start with talking about emotional changes, which has to do with crushes and moodiness, and sometimes excessive concern about appearance and other people's opinion. Has to do with some of the changes going on in their mind. All right. And then physical changes starts with this, their sweat stinks differently or smells differently. And then they have pubic hair, then they have breast spots. And then after a while, which I'll tell you how long the while is supposed to be, after a while, their reproductive organs are now ready to even try that. So you can even tell your daughters that at the time that you start to sweat, your reproductive organs have started developing, but they are developing in stages. The first stage is no periods because all the parts are growing and building, the stomach lining is practicing how to build the walls around it. The eggs are learning, is beginning to form and, to stay in the ovaries and everything. You're just walking them through that, oh, the body is developing at that time, but it's not yet ready. Then after a while, the body gets to another stage of unreadiness. But at that point, the stomach lining is now ready to shed off and it comes out from a woman's body like blood. So what have you heard so far? What have you heard so far? Tell me, was it clear enough? Let me hear before I move to the next point. The whole idea is that when we are done with this class, I want you to become a pro. All right. So tell me, what have you heard so far? The comment section is open. What have you heard so far? What have you heard so far? Tell me, 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 tell me. Auntie Joy said it's very clear. Fantastic. So I'm looking at YouTube now to all the mamas, to all the mamas that refuse to sign in and sign up. I'm seeing them. Okay, I see Auntie Olua Kemisola Esola. This is amazing. Happy to see you here. So there's quite a number of people on YouTube watching with us. Fantastic. Oh, Auntie Ivy says, I wish our parents explained it this way. Puberty comes with emotional. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Bridget. Fantastic. So the YouTube people are hearing, oh, body changes is from the inside. Fantastic. Oh, Auntie Adiola Shitu, body changes and sanitation. Quite a number of people have been online before we started. Auntie Jokela, wow, good to see you. She says, very clear, very clear. The body is rehearsing to be an adult. The body is not yet ready. So even in the unreadiness, there are stages. The first stage is, the internal reproductive organs are just changing. The internal reproductive organs are changing inside, but they've not yet reached the stage where the stomach lining starts to shed off. Then they get to another layer, the stomach lining starts to shed off. When the stomach lining starts to shed off, then we start to see periods. So even though we are seeing periods, our body is not yet ready for what it takes. It takes about 12 to 13 years for the body to be fully ready. All right. And so we are going to look at that, or at her current age, her body is rehearsing for what it can do. I like this. It's been very clear, and I think I did a good job at my first explanation to the 10-year-old. The body is rehearsing, but not ready. Absolutely. The body is rehearsing. The changes are just out. Yes, yes, yes. Very clear, because for me, it's not enough to know what to say, but how you relate it for them to understand. In a way they hear and understand. Yes. So use relatable things. Your body is preparing, your body is preparing, your body is preparing, and then they get the picture. All right. So let me move. So I feel like everyone is flowing at the moment. So let me go to the next slide now. Let me go to the next slide now. Fantastic. So I want to now talk to you about menstruation 101. All right. So what is menstruation 101? All right. So let me tell you, the first thing you're going to notice with your daughters is that they have period anxiety. The anxiety is not, what will I do when I see my period? Sometimes the anxiety is, when am I going to see when am I going to see my period? When am I going to see my period? When am I going to see my period? They become anxious. They go to school, they see one classmate saw her period, the other one saw her period. When is mine going to come? There's a general, when is mine going to come? There are the girls that it catches them off guard, but most times those are the early birds. So now if you're a mom on this call and you were an early bird, it means that if your child has not yet started seeing her period, but she has crossed 9, you need to have the conversation with her, because you know that you as a mom, you're an early bird. I wasn't an early bird. I saw my period in SS2. I mean, how far could it be? I saw my period in SS2. You get the idea? My breast boards maybe is around JSS or JSS3, they started coming out. So I'm a late bird. I can afford to sit down and say, my daughters have a long way. But there's even a danger in saying, oh, I'm a late bird. So therefore, I shouldn't tell my daughters. Because when I don't also tell my daughters, I give other people the opportunity to give them the wrong information. So if you're an early bird, start talking about periods with your girls. If you're a late bird, just know that someone else will tell your daughter something that may be wrong. All right. So you get the idea. So let's walk that through. They have anxiety. They wonder when their period is going to come, because sometimes there's a thing about starting your period being the real coming of age. And so as mothers, one of the things you need to teach your daughters is how to deal with the fear of missing out. So talk to her and say, baby, you're not missing anything. As I'm here, I will tell my daughters that, look, if you know how much I don't want to see my periods, I'm looking for a way where I don't see my periods and I'm not pregnant. So it's not really a big deal. But in saying that, it doesn't take away that they still want to experience it. So tell them it will come. It will come at the right time. But however, medically, we had an OBGYN talk to us, and a gynecologist, a consultant gynecologist talked to us at the end of the last boot camp. And I picked a few things from her and I wanted to bring it here. She said that periods come 3 years after breast bulge starts to come out. So if your baby started growing breast at 9, chances are that 12 years is the year, by the time she's 12, she'll see her period. So now you can start to anticipate. So 3 years after breast bulge is likely to result in a period. So just do the math. When did this chick start saying this growing breast bulge? So some of us have suggested to her that, oh, the moment you start having breast bulge, that's period. No, it's not true. It's 3 years, all right? And it may be quicker for some people, but it is a sign that breast bulge 3 years, all right? The second thing is that periods last 2 to 7 days. Among the teenagers, all right, among preteens, they kind of have this myth that everyone sees their period for 7 days. So you need to walk your baby through that. It's not the case for everyone, and it's 2 to 7 days, and that the first few days may be heavier than the others. And so, all right, so periods can last 2 to 7 days, all right? But the gynecologist told us something very significant. She said that menstrual cycles are between 21 days and 45 days. When we were young, all we knew was 28 days. And so we used 28 days to be doing the count. But she said that it's between 21 days and 45 days. So you need to teach your daughters that it's 21 days to 45 days, but you don't use math. That's why period talk can be fun. Bring a calendar and keep your daughter and say, sweetheart, come, let me show you how this counts. Because if you just say 21 days or 45 days, she may think from the last day. So you tell her, if you saw your period on the first of the month, if you're on a 21-day cycle, this is when your next period is, which means you can see your period twice in a month and it's perfectly normal. If it's 45 days, this is where it can land, which means you can see your period twice in 3 months and it's perfectly normal. So everybody needs to own their cycle. So you can actually do an activity where she say, all right, Nosasa her period on the 3rd of July. When is she likely to see her period? If she's on a 28-day cycle, she counts. When she's on a 21-day cycle, she counts. When she's on a 45-day cycle, she counts. You get the idea? So we start to talk about that. But the OBGYN also told us that menstrual cycles can be irregular for the first 2 years. She said menstrual cycle can be irregular for the first 2 years, and there's nothing to worry about it. All right. So she said it might be irregular for the first 2 years. So note that. So let's say your child started seeing her period, and then, for instance, she's seeing her period twice in 3 months. And by the 3rd month, you, the mother, you're paranoid. I go to Buffet. What have you done? What have you done? You may not be correct. She may not have done anything. And normally when you react like that, you plant the seed that you don't trust her. All right? So let's talk, all right? It can be irregular for the first 2 years. So the goal of the whole thing is to make sure that our girls are always prepared for their periods. That's why we teach them about the cycle. Oh, Auntie Funketi says she had a 5 months break after my first. Well, I had a 1 year break after my first period. I saw my period in SS2, and till I finished school, it didn't come again. And then one evening, I start to feel feverish, and I'm feeling very uncomfortable. And I have the maddest period I've ever had. I was bleeding like crazy, and my mom wasn't around, so I was home alone in Port Harcourt that time. And so our next door neighbor was a nurse, Mrs. Nnokam. She took me in, started guiding me, helped me to have a bath, got me some pain relief, and I watched myself bleed for, I think it was because I would normally be on in those days for 7 days. So, I'll be like that for 4 or 5 days. On the 5th day, I'll have these heavy lumps. They'll come out, and after that, I know the period is. So you need to talk about that to your daughters, so this is how the period is. It's heavier on these days. On some days, you feel like a thick lump of blood came out. So remember, the goal of having this conversation is to prepare her for this transition. so that she can make the right decisions and so that she can maximize it. So what does it help? How does she maximize it? Irene, what's in a period for a girl to maximize? Everything. If she knows that her period is going to come, she can stay prepared. For example, she knows the week she needs to start going to school with a period pouch where there's her pads, there's all those things, so that in case any accidents happen. Now remember that when they're going through puberty, they're very self-conscious. That means if she gets stained in school or something embarrassing happens, that is not even supposed to be embarrassing for somebody to be stained. But if that happens in school and the kids in school have not been adequately taught, there's a chance that it could affect her, sense of self and identity in school. So if you teach her how to prepare and plan, it is great. If you also spend time talking to her that, do you know that being stained is not a big deal? Well, there'll be concerns about wearing that dress all around wearing the uniform stained throughout the course of your day. So you prepare so that you don't have to go around with that, because the stain will make you uncomfortable. It can make your uniform have an offensive odor. But whatever the case is, remove shame from it, because I teach my daughters that periods is our superpower. That periods remind us that we are the reason that the world exists. We're the ones that carry and nurture children, and periods are a sign that we can do this. So it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Now, if you prepare your daughter and talk to her about this other aspect that there's nothing to be embarrassed about, what do you think happens? She can maximize maximize this season of her life. So as a school owner, one of the things we do in my school is to give out pads to the girls every month. So because we cater to children from low-income families, there's always a problem with period poverty. Period poverty means girls are not able to afford pads. So they have to use clothes and everything. And so most of the time when they're on their period, they stay on because they are not comfortable, because there can be leakages, they could be stained. Let's not talk about the potential of infections. So when my husband and I started our school, we give out pads to the girls every month. So what it has done for the entire school is that the boys in my school are comfortable talking about pads. So when they come to their classes to disburse the pad, nobody's hiding anything. We're just out there and everybody's collecting for the month. And some people, if they feel like they're going to run out, they can now go to the admin office to get more. So because of that, when they come to share pads, a boy can pick up a pad, no, yeah, take your pad, it's nothing. But now all schools are not like that. So my boys in my school don't shame girls for their periods. And I have seen my girls also grow confident, it's not a big deal and everything. So that's one part. So remember I said it was menstruation 101 and then the hygiene part. So we've entered the hygiene part. It means your daughters must stay prepared. So teach them how to count the cycle, teach them how to study their cycle. So even if they are on a 28-day cycle, once they enter day 21, ask them to go with a pad, because we don't know when, especially when it's not regular. So even if they go for 2-3 months and say, but mom is not coming, say, don't take it out of your pouch, always have it there. And you as a mom, have your own period pouch in the car or in your bag, somewhere where they see that even mommy carries her period pouch. So it's not a big deal, all right? So how often should pads be changed? 4 to 8 hours is essentially depends on how heavy her flow is. So you need to teach your daughter how to watch her flow. So how will she know if her flow is heavy? When you're wearing pad, you can literally see how much space you've taken up. When she starts to wear pad and she notices that she starts to bleed in the morning, she'll see where the blood stain is stopping. But as it expands, the moment she sees that it's expanding to the point that the part of the pad that extends beyond her vulva and comes up to the front is getting soaked with blood in front and at the back. It's full front and back. She should go and change the pad. But she can also note how long it took her to get there. And because sometimes, regardless of what pad company says, there can be leakages when the pad is full. So after the first time that happens, you can teach her how to, if this thing happened within 5 hours, she can note that by the 3rd hour, she should go and change. So what it means is that her period pouch, which I'm going to talk about later, needs to have a certain number of pads that can cover her for an entire time in school. And then you can also teach her how to keep her stash for her period close to the door of her room, because she can empty her period pouch in school, come back home, had a bath, use the pad at home, prepare for school, wore the pad for school, left, and forgot to refill her period pad. So she will go arrive in school, she doesn't have sufficient pad. We're talking to schools and hoping that more schools have stash of pad in schools. You know, the same way you have tissue in the female toilet, if there can be some strands of pads for girls to pick up in schools, it would help. But whatever the case is, if you can design something like a small shelf by her door as she's leaving the room for school, where she can see a stash of pad and pick it up and put it in her bag, all right? So that's it. So we also need to prepare them for health changes. One of the health changes that occurs is that some people have headaches, some people have dizziness. And so medically, they say heating pads help. I feel feverish sometimes. I feel pain under my bladder. So we need to talk about it. And sometimes for those of us that are Christians and born again, you're saying, oh, your case is going to be different. Of course, our case is going to be different. But you still need to tell about these things. It might not, it might not be for her. Or she might be able to support a friend in school who is dealing with some discomfort. So teach them what to do. Like one of the things I learned was that when I'm on my period, I need to stay away from sugary stuff. I don't know how true it is, but I kind of felt that my flows were different when I took something sugary. But do you know there were times that I had, and then they'll say, okay, hot water also helps. There were times that I had painful cramps, and I'll take hot tea, and I will bleed heavily, but it won't have a lot of lumps, or it won't be as crampy, or I don't know the ideas you had about this part thing, but it won't have a lot of clotting, it won't hurt as much, and so on and so forth. This is that light. Okay. So you get the idea. So prepare them for the health part of it, all right? Prepare them for the health part of it. It was charging here, so pick it up here. Sorry, I have someone coming to pick up something in my room. So the doctor that spoke to us in August, 1 minute, please. So follow the charger, follow this charger. Sorry, one of my girls wants to pick up something quickly. So the doctor that came to share with us mentioned a few things. So for us mothers, pay attention to this. Number one, if your child is up to 15 but has not started seeing her period yet, you need to take her to go and see a doctor. So also she said, if 3 years after she started to see breast buds, she doesn't see her period, take her to see the doctor, all right? If her period started being regular and all of a sudden it stopped being regular, take her to see a doctor. You get those three things. 15, no period, go and see a doctor. She started seeing, she had breast buds 3 years after, no period, take her to go and see a doctor. She had regular periods and suddenly they become irregular, take her to go and see a doctor, all right? Then finally, on hygiene, your girls must bathe often. It's a given now that she should bathe right after school, bathe in the evening again. There shouldn't be a problem with her bathing often. And then when she washes the underwear that she uses during her period, it's best when it's dried under the sun so that the sun helps to kill the germs. Have you been able to find the connection? So I'm going to just help you. Please, family, give me a second. So it looks like, yeah, that's it. Thank you. Sorry. So they must dry their underwears under the sun, all right? So at this point, I want to see, what have you heard so far? What have you heard so far? Let me see, what have you heard so far? All right, I'm coming to the next set of stuff. So let me hear what you've heard so far. Let me go on YouTube and see what the mamas there are talking about. All right. If your child is up to 15 but has not started menstruating, take her to see a doctor, yes? The body changes, all right? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, your body's preparing. Period show that body's changing, it's not ready to carry baby. Thank you so much. So I must watch out 3 years after breast buds, yes? If periods don't come out 3 years after breast buds, we are going to see the doctor. If we started seeing our period and then it was regular and then suddenly it becomes irregular, we're going to see a doctor. All right. If the girl is 15, no breast buds, we're saying no periods, we're seeing a doctor. All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. This is excellent. This is excellent. All right. This is awesome. Okay. So I think I'm ready to go to the next slide so that we can start drawing the curtain already. Fantastic. So remember what I said earlier, we're going to talk about puberty, we're going to talk about menstrual 101, and then the menstrual hygiene, and then we're going to talk about crushes, sex, and pregnancy. I'm sure you started gaining something already. For late starters, keep encouraging them to douse the anxiety. Sometimes if you even tell them that it's 3 years after your breast birth, it gives them something to look forward to. Yes, Auntie Modupe, thank you for that feedback. You said teach them how to wash their underwears after the flow. Soaking it, leaving it in water without soap first to get out the stains, and then soak it again in water with detergent, teaching them how to wash at the edges, teaching them how to wash properly and make sure it's completely out. For some parents, they say, make sure they use white so that you can see when it's stained. Well, I don't know. I don't know what works for you, but I don't mind colored pants because I feel like while they're learning how to wash, it means that we're going to sacrifice a lot of pants. And well, it's still part of the learning process, but it's not a bad thing for them to use other colors. But I also think it's not much about the color as the texture of the material or the type of pants they're using during the periods. When we were younger in boarding school, everyone had these pants that was straight like this, that is either black or white, and it will have lines or multicolored straight like this. It had a way that pads stuck on it and it just fits. I don't know if those pants are still in the market, but you can make sure you're getting your daughters the right kind of pants. All right. So yes, teach them how to wash underwear after the flow. For late starters, keep encouraging them to douse their anxiety as much as possible. All right. Keep encouraging them. You can tell them to journal when they experience changes. This is not on my notes, but also I've also read somewhere that just before they see their period, they start to have vaginal discharges. Yeah, they start to have a unique kind of vaginal discharge. So you can imagine what that means, all right? So the vaginal discharge is like muco, is creamy or whitish. It may not be consistent, it may happen from time to time, but when that happens, you're there. Just last month, a mother was there with her daughter. A mother was there with her daughter. Vaginal discharges had become consistent, and then she started having cramps. She's actually the one that informed this class. Then the child started having a lot of cramps, a lot of cramps. And so she was like, we're almost there, we're almost there. So it was so amazing. And remember what I said earlier, articulate your fears. When you're thinking about periods, what are you afraid of? Articulate it. One of the fears that we have is that our daughters will not be able to handle themselves around boys, which is why I'm here for you, because I'm the body smart girl coach, right? Teaching girls to be body smart. So our biggest concern is, will she be able to make the right decisions? So let's start out talking about things like crushes, all right? So I know that you would like for me to tell you that you should discipline her for her to not have crushes. Well, I want to disappoint you just a little bit. Crushes are normal, crushes will come. And the more kids don't know how to manage crushes, the more likely they are to make wrong decisions. So the very first thing we need to talk about is helping your children process what they're feeling. So let me give you this feedback. Crushes are normal. Crushes are short term. Crushes are not designed to last very long, all right? So it means that even you can exaggerate the crush and make it complicated. Some of us say we're friendly with our daughters, and so we make fun of the people they have crushes on, but it can make the feeling prolong. And the prolonging is the problem. Having the crush is not the problem. The prolonged feeling is the problem. The not knowing what to do with the feeling is the problem. So let me explain what I mean. The way crushes are, they can last as short as 3-4 days, 1 week, and they can as short as a month or two. But there are certain things that kids do, and even adults do along with kids, that can worsen the crushes by making it last longer. One of it is talking consistently, continually about it in an obsessive manner. Oh, I saw him today. And you're like, so you're going to pick your daughter now. You're no longer, how was school today? Asking, how is Akin? Oh, the more you ask, the more there's a problem. You make her think that, oh, this their relationship is going to be off the hook. So I remember when my daughter was 9 years old, she came home one day and said, Mom, there's a boy in my class. I think we're going to get married. In my head, I'm like, should I tell her? And I said, what do you like about him? So that's where I'm going to the next thing. To manage their feelings, you need to feel their logic tags. So you first tell them that crushes are normal. The feelings don't really last, but it can be an opportunity to learn about themselves. So you can teach your daughter that when they have a crush, think about what you like about the person. Excuse me. So when my daughters come and tell me they have a crush, I'll say, tell me about him. Tell me what you like about him. And then I'll say, tell me what you don't like about him. Tell me what other people are saying about him. Now, let me give you the perspective. Crushes are also a rehearsal to relationships. So it means that if you silence your children, when your daughters and even sons, when they're going through crushes, you miss out on the opportunity of shaping their relationship values. So what it means is that I'm showing my daughters how, so when they feel a certain type of way, I ask them certain questions, and then sometimes I ask them those questions and we have the conversation. I notice that the more, the more logical they become, the shorter the conversations, but the more I hear from them. So let me give you an example. One time my daughter came back and said, oh, that one of the reasons why she liked one particular boy was because one day he fell down their entire class shelf with school bags. And behold, when the teacher asked him that he spoke the truth, he said it exactly as it happened. I laugh because in my head, I'm like, you didn't see that he fell the drawer. All you saw was that he spoke truth. But it gave me the opportunity to see through that speaking truth was a value that was important to her. And she also recognized that it was a value that was important to me. So what happens is that her sensibilities are up and she's watching the person beyond her feelings. All right. So I noticed that now when she comes and says, oh, mom, if I sometimes make fun about it. We're entering the class, oh, mom, I had a crush today. I said, what's up? Say nothing, no big deal, nothing is happening there. And it's over. And because now we understand that crushes are temporary, we're not dwelling anymore. My daughter has had a crush that was really prolonged because of also the role I played in it. I didn't know what I know now, all right? And it was my friend's son. So you can imagine how, we'll be making fun. But I started seeing how increasingly weak she was becoming, unable to, stand her own ground. And so I had to retrace my step, reduce the number of conversations we're having, reduce how many times they have to come, hang out with each other. I mean, this is my close friend. So that means I want to hang out with her a lot. So we started doing a lot of hanging out with other kids because for my daughter, it wasn't helping her get over it. So we have to be supportive in those moments. You don't want her to make mistakes. You have to handhold her through the feelings that come. You have to handhold her. You don't need to go to NSPPD for it and say, God should cast it out. If God cast it out, there's something wrong with her development. There's something wrong with the physical development. So it's part of it, but we want to be a part of it so we can have conversations. So we tell them, I'll tell my daughters, don't talk to a friend that is excited about the crushes. Don't also talk to a friend that does not have solid values about, they don't have boundaries, they don't have strong values guiding them. So for example, if they talk to a friend who they have decided that they're not dating until a certain age, that friend is not likely to fuel the crushes. And so I also tell my daughters, I said, when you have a strong emotion towards someone, the truth of the matter is that you're vulnerable around them, you're weak. If they tell you do this, you do. And I've worked with girls that say, he asked me out, I was telling him no, he's told me he wants to go to another girl. What can I do? What can I do? They're literally helpless trying to beg the boy not to leave them. So I see that their logic tanks are empty. And so I start to fill my daughters with knowledge that look, you'll be vulnerable. If you spend time with this person, you develop an artificial sense of likeness. You don't know them. You just like your idea of them. You don't know them. At the same time, sex education is not boys versus girls. So I'm not telling that all boys are bad, but I'm telling them what values that well-raised boys have. Chances are that when they're all young, they can't see through clearly. So because she has a sounding board that is a trusted adult, that is filling her logic time, it reduces how long the crushes last. And then I want to end here by telling you that, look, it doesn't matter how you scream on your daughter about crushes. If she doesn't have all this self-esteem, where do you think her self-esteem will come from? It will come from boys. Yeah, when a boy tells her he likes her, her brain is all over the place. You're busy telling her, I'll discipline you. She feels loved. She likes the attention she's getting. And so that's the direction she's going. So build your daughter's sense of self-worth. If you don't know how to do that, go on our YouTube channel and look for a video about building self-esteem and watch it and start practicing it. All right. So that's on managing crushes. And then finally, I want to talk about intercourse and pregnancy. So you have to tell your daughters about what intercourse is. It's already in their curriculum, by the way. So if you don't tell them, someone else is going to tell them. So when they get into puberty, remember what I said earlier, the reproductive organs are building, reproductive organs are building, reproductive organs are developing. Girls have a different set of reproductive organs from boys. And so for boys, their penises are growing and their testicles are also growing. So inside their testicular scrotum is sperm. I don't know if I'm correct because all my research is on girls. But the boy has sperm in his system. And sperm, you can draw it, simple head with a long thread. It is what the body expects to come in and get into the egg, that egg that doesn't have shell. When it gets into the egg, it travels down the fallopian tubes and gets into the womb where it plants there. And for 9 months, that blood that used to shed off stays there and develops and forms a healthy cocoon for a baby to grow. So what gets people pregnant is sperm in a man getting into the body of a woman and it gets her pregnant. So you've been looking for the word. I tell you, sex description to your child should be that it is a process where the man inserts his penis in the woman's vagina so that sperm can travel from his scrotum to her egg. So we say, why are you explaining it like that? I'm explaining it like that so that they don't think that it's that pleasurable. They will eventually know. Hopefully they've not watched porn. But we tell them that that is how pregnancy occurs. Sperm from a man goes into a woman. If your daughters have started hearing things, chances are they're going to ask you, does it happen the first time? Does all sex result in intercourse? You need to tell them that as far as biology is concerned, all sex should lead to intercourse. Some of them are hanging around people. Let's say you're talking to a daughter who is already maybe 13, 14, or hasn't seen her period yet. Her friends have told her all kinds of things. For example, they can tell her, no, people don't get pregnant the first time. So you need to tell them that the body does not keep record of first or second. The body just recognizes that sperm entered here. That's all. I also mentioned to you that their body is preparing, but it's not adequately ready. So you tell them about the vaginal vesicle fistula, which is a problem that happens where a woman has obstruction during labor. Many times, largely due to the fact that even though their reproductive organs internally are ready, their cervix area is not properly developed yet. So sometimes in the process of giving birth, there can be a hole between their vagina and their bladder, causing urine to leak out because the baby conception happened too young. Do you get the idea? So you want to put that first, that even if you got pregnant, not you, even that when a girl gets pregnant, even if she started paying her period, she's developed, she has hips, she's tall, people think she's a big girl. Inside of her body does not lie about her age. Inside of her body does not lie. As I'm talking to you, there's a data by, it's not Planned Parenthood, there's an organization that states that in Nigeria, right as we speak today, there are 300,000 cases of vaginal vesicle fistula, VVF, that are still being treated. And so these women go with a lot of smell and stench because they can't regulate their bladder. So you need to explain this to your daughters because when their friends are talking, they don't talk about it that way. And then we move to the other part of what really happens to a girl when she gets pregnant. Now, if you're talking to a 12 to 14-year-old, or say your daughter is 15 and you want to talk about this because this particular one is an ongoing conversation around this, you need to consistently help your daughters know that, number one, pregnancy alters life for a girl. It doesn't even matter the support system she has. It's not the same way. She can't just get up and go again like that. She's not responsible for someone. That's number one. And then number two, you want to also help the girl know that some people call you and say, oh, if you get pregnant, I know something you can take. I know a pill you can take. I know something you can take. But Nigeria, for example, has a data where 5,000 girls, 5,500 girls are reported to die annually trying to have abortions. So you need your daughters to know that look, trying to get rid of the baby is just as detrimental to your health. There are mothers who take their daughters to go and do family planning. If you're on this call, I want to help you understand what you've been able to do. You know that the fear of pregnancy can actually stop a child from having sex. The fear of pregnancy can make a child say, please use condoms, right? But when you eliminate the possibility that a girl can be pregnant, what you're telling her is that there's no consequence, but you lie. Because when she knows that there's no consequence, it can lead to very risky behavior like having multiple sex partners. There's a risk of getting a sexually transmitted disease because maybe you didn't think about this. But family planning does not stop infections. In fact, condoms also do not 100% stop pregnancy. So there's still risk. So bottom line, we need to always step back and say, what real support do girls need to help them say no to sex? What's the real support they need? And I can assure you, one of it is identity. One of it is self-worth. One of it is a supportive environment to come and ask questions without being judged. One of them is to talk about their pressure point. One of them is to tell you when they have a crush and what they're being asked to do. One of them is to create an atmosphere where they can talk about stuff. They ask questions and you help them see the big picture that God had when he says, let's wait till we marry. I had a conversation with my daughter yesterday. By the way, she's 12. We're coming home yesterday. We did some errands in town. And I started talking to her about how God designed the woman's body. I told her two things. I'm going to say this quickly. The first thing I told her was that, look, God knows that men have commitment problem. That God knows it. And God needed a sign for the woman to know that this particular man was ready to commit. And one of those signs was he was disciplined enough to want to honor God. That if he's disciplined enough to want to honor God, then you're safe with him. All right. And so because he's disciplined enough to want to honor God, he will be able to tell you to wait until you marry. Because if you don't wait until you marry and you get pregnant, you're the primary person bearing the consequence. And true love does not want to expose you to those kinds of risks. True love does not want to expose you to shame. And sometimes, I've been with girls that say, what if he marries you? What if he wants to marry you? What if he loves you enough to marry you? And I'm like, that's not the point. But I see where you're going. Because when we were younger, they used to tell us, if he has sex with you, he won't marry you. Well, today people are having sex and getting married. And so I tell my daughters, the safe space is always with someone who honors God. There's a lot of challenges ahead of the relationship. You just want to know that this person honors God. And sex before marriage is one area where you can know that this person will honor God, this person will be led by God. I can trust this person with my own life. And so, and I said these kinds of things don't come from feeling. They come from studying patterns and decisions. You get the idea? Studying patterns. And but I also told my daughter, this has to be with someone who is not having sex with you and is not having sex with someone else. Because there are people who can be having sex with other people, but the person they want to marry, there's no sex. I said there's a hypocrisy in that. So you're looking for someone who is ready to honor God. You know, I was having this conversation with a 12-year-old, and the reason I was having that is that they need the conversations before they get to the pressure point. If you wait until the pressure point, it may not enter, all right? So true love does not expose you to risk. So what kind of support do girls need? I'm wrapping up now. So you see, girls need hygiene. They need hygiene education. They need comfort, friendship, presence. When they're on their period, they need to know that you care about them, sitting with them, sitting on the bed and saying, are you okay? Do you want to drink something? Can I get you tea? When your daughter sees you care for her in that moment, it gives her a sense of identity. Girls need affirmation, all right? Girls need affirmation. Girls need validation. validation. I mean, tomorrow's session is going to be something with dads, because one of the places that dads are missing is that they're not talking enough. Because when a girl gets into puberty, a masculine voice is different. It hits home differently. When he tells her, you're beautiful, I believe in you, I want to, are you okay? Do you want to talk? It hits differently. It hits, I don't know if you've met girls who were loved by their fathers. Their self-confidence is off the roof. So that's part of what we're talking about tomorrow. So girls need hygiene, girls need comfort, girls need affirmation. So my team and I have been thinking about something we want to start doing. And so we want to start encouraging parents to make periods a big deal. All right. So I want to see comments. Make periods a big deal. I want to see comments. Make period type. Make periods a big deal for your girls. All right. Make periods a big deal. All right. Let me see. All right. We want to encourage our parents to make periods a big deal. So type, I will make periods a big deal. All right. Yeah. Make periods a big deal. And so because of that, we want to tell you about preparing a menstrual box for your daughters. All right. So let's say she has not yet started her periods, or even if she has started, gift her with a menstrual box. Gift her with a menstrual box. Gift her, I mean, if you want to prepare a menstrual box, this is some of the things you need to put inside there. Make sure that there are pads. I mean, one of the ideas we have in mind is for fathers to take up the responsibilities of replacing her pads. When a girl knows that daddy is counting your cycle with you and he knows when to buy pads for you, security is different, but awareness that there can be no biggie is also different. All right. So the pad liners, wipes, pocket tissue, sanitizer, deodorant, disposable bags, mini water bottle, you know, for when their tummy hurts and they just want to keep it underneath there to help with ease with the pain, affirmation cards. Gift your daughters with a menstrual box, something that looks sleek. But you know what? Trust us now, Raising Girls, we always want to add to it. So last December, we launched a book called The Crush Journal. Some mothers are using the Crush Journal and they say it's making a difference. One mother, Madame Violet, in one of our classes, mentioned about how the journal reminds her daughters. The journal literally fills your daughter's logic tank when she's going through her period. So we designed the same affirmations as well. And so we're opening up a new service line for parents where you can ask us to help you prepare your personalized period box. What's a personalized period box? That means the period box will have your daughter's name on it. So let's say her name is Adana. So she will prepare the box and it will have Adana's period box. And then there'll be all those things that we listed before, but it will come with our say no affirmations and it will also come with our crush journals. But we're not also stopping there. We now have like all these things I shared today. We're going to have it in a leaflet for your daughters, something that says something like all about my periods. So I think there's someone's mic that is on, that we're having small echoes, yeah? So what we're going to do is, when you want to prepare the period box, you don't need to ask us to do the period box for you. You can call us and tell us to give you personalized box, say no affirmation, the crush journal, and all about my periods, like just a little pamphlet. And we'll mail it to you and you package your box and you deliver. Or you can also ask us to help you package this box, something that looks really sleek. So let me show you a bit of what we're talking about. I forgot to put this, a sample of the period picture, period box picture, but this is what our crush journal looks like. Some parents on the call here may already have it, but what we have so far, it's always been in hard copy. It's always been in soft copy. But from July, when we're launching this service, we're going to have this as a journal, printable, that you can put in your daughter's period box, because as she's seeing her periods, she's having crushes, you're reminding her that there's a connection between the choices that she's making with boys and her periods. There's a connection. So we want her to have the crush journal. The crush journal asks her many questions, like those questions I asked my daughter. What do you like about him? What don't you like about him? What do teachers say about him? What is something you would never do? Is there something, you know, different things that just help her to think when she's going through crushes, because when she's going through crushes, chances are that she's feeling. So we're introducing questions that force her to think. So we want you to make sure that as you start to prepare period boxes for your girls, you'll have this crush journal. And then we also have the say no affirmation. So let me read one of the affirmations here. It says, God fills my heart with so much wisdom, not the wisdom that this world offers, that is selfish and dishonors the ways of God. I refuse to make decisions in a hurry. I think calmly before making a choice. I make wise decisions always. I make wise decisions always. I repeatedly and consistently apply sound judgment in all situations. So she has all these kinds of affirmations that she's reminding herself, this is who I am. So these particular affirmations is for 9 to 14-year-olds. And then we have the one for 15 to 17-year-olds. Again, they say, I refuse to make decisions based on my fear that I could be missing out. So we want these affirmations depending on your daughter's ages in your period boxes. You can make the period boxes by yourself. All we want to ask you is to please make sure that when you're preparing period boxes for your daughters, make sure you have our crush journal, make sure you have our say no affirmations, and make sure you get our pamphlets written all about periods. So, but we are opening up this service in July, and we want to see how many parents will be interested in this service. So first and foremost, if you would like for us to support you to prepare a period box, send us a message on WhatsApp right now to the number that chatted with you today. I'm going to type the number now. Is 08100944320. All right. So reach out to us and tell us, I want you to help me package a period box. But this service is not available until July. And so when we get there, we'll now reach out to you and say, oh, this is it. So, but I want you to imagine that we want you to make it a big deal. We want you to give your daughter the identity, the support, but also the resources for her to go through this period in the right state of mind. All right. So if you would like for us to support you to prepare a period box, all right, you can actually take a screenshot of would actually want you to take a screenshot of the list of things we said. So you can literally make your own yourself. You can buy the items and then just buy a box from us. You can buy the items. Yeah, this is a list. You can take a screenshot. So there are essential things, there are luxury things, different things here that just make her feel a little comfortable during that period. If you would like us to build it like a gift box for you and put all the, all the shenanigans that makes it exciting, we would help you. All right. So reach out to us if you want us to prepare the menstrual box for you. So if you want to buy the items yourself, but you want the personalized box with your daughter's name on it, we'll send it to you. And so beautiful design with the name and everything. We're supposed to have a mock-up today, but Trust Graphic Designers, they did a strong thing today, but it's not stopping us. So, but we're just telling you whether you're buying the box from us or not. We're recommending that as you're preparing your daughter's period box, make sure there's a crush journal in it. Make sure there's a say no affirmation in it, something she's reading all through, whether she's on her period or not, that kind of thing. And we'll throw in something else for you. We would throw in like a period calendar. The journal already has a crush calendar, helping your daughters count how long the crushes last. But we can throw in a period calendar, like a period counter for your daughter in a card format. She doesn't need to write on it, but she doesn't, like if she writes on it, it's not wasted. Like she can, clean it up, it will be laminated so that she can note when she saw her period and try to plan for when next her period will come. So if you'll be interested in our small Ziploc of resources for your daughters, we're ready to ship them anywhere in the world to you. But if you also want us to do the full thing for you, we would do it. Remember, period kit, her period box should not be a part of her, it should not be a birthday gift. It should just be a love gift preparing her for this season. So I'm ready to take on questions now. So we just want to be able to support you. All right. So we're going to give, we'll give you affirmations, the crush journal, the calendar, and all about my periods pamphlet. So that if after you finish having this conversation, it looks as if the thing is still hooking you, with saying it. but we don't think it should hook you because if you came to this class, it's free. You know, it was easy to relate. How soon can we have the customized box? We want to start out in July. Won't start out in July, but if by some miracle the customized box is ready earlier, we will still reach out. So we need people interested to send us a message to say, I want your period box. All right. So we just want people to tell us, leave us. It's actually the number of people that are interested that will determine how far we go, how fast we go. So I just wanted to say this during the menstrual hygiene week to see how many parents will be interested. And so I see my people on YouTube. Let me just paste for them the number to indicate interest in this. All right, let me see. So let me paste the number. YouTube people, I'm pasting your own number now. I'll post it and then I'll pin it. Yes, I've pinned it. So all you need to do is send us a WhatsApp and tell us. So the name, your daughter's name will be there. And if you want it to be a name that is more intimate than the name everyone calls her, all you need to do is that when you place the order for it, all you need to do is place the order for it and tell us the name you want on the box. And voila, it will be ready and we'll ship it to you. So because we don't want damages in the boxes, we're working to see how we can have someone working with us from Lagos, producing there, and someone. How much will the customized box cost? We're not yet there. We'll send you that we'll send a broadcast to you guys tonight telling you, not tonight, we'll send a broadcast sometime next week telling you what the cost will be. But that depends on, like, if we have up to 50 people tonight saying I'm interested in whether it's the customized box or, you know, so you can buy only the customized box and our resources, or you can buy only our resources. It's not a problem either ways. You can also ask us to do everything for you. So we'll send you something that tells you what our cost profile looks like. But we're working very hard to make sure that it's worth the wait, it's beautiful to behold, and so on and so forth. So I don't know if anyone has any question on this period talk. Tell me what you learned. Tell me something you had a concern with before that you think you can deal with now. Something you had a concern with before, but you feel like you can deal with it now. Something you didn't know how to say before, but now you can say it now. Let me hear. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Hey, I see Chama Mama. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming. Yeah. Oh, the whole period stocks. Oh, so it means it's easier. If it's easier now, if you feel like it's easier. Okay, about the age 22. Fantastic. So why did I keep saying 13 years? You know, in our culture, we start to say that once you're 18, you can do a lot of things. But science is showing that the brain is not fully developed until 22. The decision-making part of the brain is still slow before 22. So it means that an 18-year-old can make a crazy decision. An 18-year-old can make a silly decision. In fact, we just finished a class with parents of girls. So your 8-year-old doesn't need this conversation just yet, unless she has started showing up signs of puberty. So you don't need to say to your 8-year-old. That's why we talked about if you have a daughter that will be turning 9, 8 turning 9, you can start talking about it. I can talk about periods better using the scientific analogy of stomach wall shedding, body preparing for adulthood. Fantastic. Joy, if you're there, I need screenshot of these beautiful feedbacks so that we know that we achieved our goal. All right. Fantastic. I like that. I don't know what's going on here. So what has happened is, oh, she has breast boards and armpit hair. So that's the feedback. That's the feedback. So you're going to start the conversation with telling her the changes that she has already started happening, that she has already started experiencing, the sweat thing. But remember that she's still 7 to 8. That means, yes, this class is streaming on YouTube, all right? So all you need to do is go to our channel, you see the replay. It's already on YouTube, all right? So because she's already sweating, start the conversation what she's already experiencing. But remember that you have a 3-year journey. So I'm recommending that you still need to slow down a little bit and wait till she's 9 or almost 10 before you hit it full. I'm always careful about the kind of conversations I have with 6 to 8 year olds, because one of the things that comes with that age is that they talk a lot, and they can talk in weird places. And they can, it's not every adult that can note that, oh, this child is sounding like this because they're knowledgeable. Some adults will say this child is spoiled because she knows this much. And so you don't want her to be shamed. So you want to manage it. Don't load it all up at once. Watch her response. The first time I told my daughter about her periods, about how periods work, she was almost 9. She was almost 9, I think. Yeah. And then I remember her asking me, how will I know when the next one is coming? So I just told her the basics, which is that the body's changing and this will happen soon. But we don't know yet, but these are all the things that will happen. I literally told her, because then she was only sweating. It was just sweat that was changing. I started telling her all the things. And so when she has a crush, I remind her that, remember, this is puberty and this is part of the journey. So you don't need to go full blown. Remember that her age is still significant. Just keep watching her, but always start with development she's already experiencing. But believe me, this conversation, you can have it with her, but also remind her that in the event that you have to have it full blown with her because she's developing very quickly, what you can do is to tell her that these conversations is between you and mommy. Mommy is the only person you have puberty conversations with. Mommy is the only person you have period talks with for now. So that helps you manage where she expresses herself, whether it's in question or sharing thoughts that she has. Please, does anyone have any other question? I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. So remember that you're sending us a message via WhatsApp to 08100 944. So tomorrow's class is for fathers of girls. I don't have specialty in talking about raising boys. I've not done research. I don't know the intricacies. So tomorrow's class is for dads of girls. All right? It's for dads of girls. But I know that mothers will come to that class tomorrow. I know. I don't even need anybody to tell me. I know that mothers will come. So I'm not saying you shouldn't come, but I'm saying it's for dads of girls. It's not for sons, because we're celebrating Menstrual Hygiene Week, but it's for dads of girls. Thank you so much, Idara. Thank you so much. What time is that class? It's the same class. It's 8 p.m. but strictly for dads. Drag your husbands, beg them to come. Can we discuss all you have discussed this evening with a 9-year-old? Yes, because to a large extent, everything I've discussed tonight is available. So the YouTube link, we're going to send it to you via WhatsApp. If you're on any of our WhatsApp groups, it's already there. So normally when we start streaming like this, we share it on YouTube, we generate the link and we share it with you guys. So it's the same link that was shared earlier that will still be used. Thank you so much, Auntie Antonia. Thank you so much. And guys, if you're on this call, I want you to know that we have a bootcamp coming in August. It's absolutely free. It's absolutely free. The time online for that is not 8 p.m. What time is, okay. What time did we put for that? Because my assistant is calling my attention that the time for that is not 8 p.m. Am I playing? Let me check something. Please give me a second. Let me confirm. Let me confirm. It's 8 p.m., oh, sweetheart. It's 8 p.m. Both of them is 8 p.m. All right. Thank you so much, family. Thank you. So remember to register your daughters for the camp. It's absolutely free. All you need to do is send us a message on that same WhatsApp number with the word camp. But if you're interested in period box, just type P box. Send us a message, P box. We'll store your number and keep you posted when this product is available. So we want to be a part of your daughter's period journey, and we want to support you by giving you resources to arm her to go through this interesting season. So I want to thank everyone for coming out. Thank you. Let me see how many people are still on the call. I want to thank you, Auntie Abimbola Williams, Abisola, Auntie Antonia, Ayobola, Auntie Blessing 40K. Thank you for being here. Onyechi Chukwujeku, Diana Unisa, Felicia Omoko, Funketi Uyanga, thank you for being here. Hope Moses, Idara Edwin, Isi, Alimi Kena. I hope I got that right. Auntie Joke Lawal, thank you for being here. I see you, Joy Ajuzie, Justin Denedo, Maureen Marley, thank you for being here from the beginning. Modupe Onaivi, Niran Ojenika, Ogechiku Kayode, those are real Nigerians, I tell you. Ogochinedu, Sheon Adebanjo, Ugone Chuku, Uwamusi Esewe, Violet Ojabo. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. God bless you. And to our beautiful family on YouTube, where are you? I need to celebrate you too. I want to thank Tina. I see Choma Moma. I see Mary Ubenyo. I see Dante. I see Bridget Akpala. I see Auntie Barrister Chineye. Auntie Mary, my love. I see you. I see you. I see you. Ibiwari. Ibiwari is always here every Thursday. When I think about quitting, I remember seeing Ibiwari is there and I said she's going to ask. All right. This is fantastic. This is fantastic. Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Adiola. Thank you so very much. So let me see. Let me see. Let me see. All right. So my assistant is trying to call my attention to something. Okay, so I had actually corrected that. I had corrected that because I thought that that will also be on their way home. So thank you so much, guys. See you on the other side, and we're super happy. So there's a whole lot of journey for the period box branding and marketing, but we're coming. So we look forward to your patronage. So make sure enough people are asking us the right questions. So somebody said, Irene Bangle, you're amazing. Oh, that really touched my heart. I need to find that comment. Thank you very much, Auntie Irene. Well, thank you. I'm grateful. So good night, guys. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you for coming. Cheers. Bye-bye. Joy, please take a picture of the whole group. Oh. Take a picture for us. Thank you very much. I forgot to do that. Let me just do that now. Thank you so very much.